MLB Pipeline just dropped their new updated midseason 2024 top 100 prospect rankings with a lot of interesting decisions and really exciting players making big jumps and former hype prospects making big drops in the rankings as we now head into a big sample size of the 2024 season, and the minor league season goes and adds not only rookies from the 2024 MLB draft class, but also heads into the postseason and the end of minor league ball, which is an always exciting time as the next wave of baseball talent goes ahead and tries to carve their path to the show. If I were to talk about all 100 prospects on this list, we'd be here all day, and frankly, none of us have that kind of time. So I'll go ahead and highlight just a couple players in each 10 bracket group and give you insight into some really exciting players and some players who had their shine and luster fall off just a little bit. I've also talked about a lot of these players already, so I'll link the couple videos that I've done already on some of these prospects down in the description for you to watch after you're done here. Before we begin, I'm sure you know the drill already. It'd mean a ton if you could subscribe to the channel. It's the easiest way to help me grow and get more baseball content, not only from me, but from other awesome YouTube content creators out there as well. Without further ado, let's dive into MLB Pipeline's recently updated top 100 list for the midseason of 2024. Rankings 91 to 100 are characterized by a lot of players who used to be in the top 50 of these lists, but have had their shine drop off just a little bit over the past couple seasons. Drew Jones and Zach Dean, Yanquiel Fernandez, just to name a few of them, but one that still interests me in this category is Adael Amador, a second baseman who's currently playing for the Colorado Rockies AA affiliate, has never played in AAA, but at only 21 years old has already made his major league debut with the Colorado Rockies earlier this year. He didn't do particularly well in his really quick cup of coffee in Colorado. A 171, 194, 200 slash line is atrocious, especially when you're playing in Coors Field. But given that he is very young and was a somewhat highly touted prospect coming out of the international signing class in 2019, the Rockies signed him for $1.5 million, which is a lot of money. Not top of the line stuff, but definitely there's only a few guys each year who get that much money in the international signing class. The Rockies believe in him from a young age, and he's still someone who people are very excited about heading into the future for the Colorado Rockies. Amador had to be added to the 40-man roster ahead of the 2024 season to be protected from the Rule 5 draft, and that's why he got called up earlier. The Rockies needed some help, figure out might as well call up your top prospects, see what he can do, but he has had a down year with AA Hartford, an OPS of 705, and although he has traditionally been a very contact-oriented hitter with a great eye, before 2024 he had more walks and strikeouts in his minor league career. He has taken a big step back in AA, 48 walks to 71 strikeouts in 75 games so far, so he's not really achieving the results that you want to see from someone who is your top prospect really, but he's still very young at only 21, and the jump from high A to AA is often seen as the most difficult in the minor leagues, so if anyone can go ahead and really break through from this bottom of the top 100 back into the top rankings, I think Adael Amador is a safe bet to go ahead and do that. There's also some interesting names that have recently broken into the top 100, and the last player on the list, number 100, Travis Sykora, is someone I expect to be even higher when the re-rank comes this offseason. He was the Nationals' third-round pick in 2023 and someone who I tweeted about as a sleeper pick. As a high school right-handed pitcher, he had a ton of potential with a heater that touched 101 miles an hour before he even got into the national system. For a high schooler to throw 101, that is really impressive, and that's why people fell in love with him coming out of the draft. And he did fall to pick 71, but he did sign for $2.6 million, which is about the slot bonus of someone in the top 30 to 40 picks. So he was a very highly rated prospect, just he needed to manipulate their money to go ahead and sign him away from his commitment to the University of Texas. The 6'6 righty has an above average splitter and a slider that it still needs a little bit of work and refinement, but is something that a lot of people think is already a plus pitch, and that 3-pitch mix along with some really solid control has really allowed him to break out at only 20 years old in 2024, his first taste of professional ball. So far with Fredericksburg, their single A affiliate, the Nationals prospect has a 3-3 record with a 2.51 ERA and has struck out 101 batters to just 22 walks in 68 innings pitched. He has dominated batters, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him potentially end the year in high A if the Nationals really want to test him and see what they can get. But Sykora has rocketed up prospect rankings and is someone to definitely keep an eye out as we go ahead and look forward to the 2025 season. He could very easily be a top 25 prospect by the end of it. From 81 to 90, we have a lot of players who have been mainstays on top 100 prospects list, and two of those being outfielders Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford at 82nd, 83rd overall, who both came over from the Astros to the Mets as part of the Justin Verlander trade at the 2023 trade deadline. After carving up AA after being acquired by the Mets last year, he struggled so far in 2023 in AAA, a 216, 326, 284 slash line for the former first-round pick out of Tennessee in the 2022 MLB draft, but there's still a lot of excitement and hope around Gilbert that he could be a solid contributor. The lefty's 23, he's actually born a day after me, which is kind of crazy to think about. What am I doing just recording YouTube videos when this guy's about to be a major leaguer? But he's someone who has all-around good tools both offensively and defensively, and is someone who a lot of people think could be a mainstay at center field for the Mets for a long time. On the flip side, Ryan Clifford was the 11th round pick of the Astros in the 2022 MLB draft and signed for a big signing bonus, which is often common for players picked rounds 11 and after, as that's when teams can save a little money by signing larger contracts. So he was someone that a lot of people thought was going to be very good, even though he had a low draft pedigree as with baseball itself. He's more of a power hitter, which is why he's maybe seen to be more of a first baseman than a corner outfielder, but he has solid arm strength and could potentially be a league average hitter with some more refinement to his skills. And although he hasn't done great at AA so far this year, also struggled a little bit at high A as well, he's only 21 and the lefty has a ton of potential going forward and could be a very solid contributor for the Mets teams that hopefully for Mets fans are competing in 2025-2026 when he probably should make his major league debut the latter season. One of the quickest risers of 2024 has been Zebby Matthews, who started in high A against lesser competition this year and really turned himself on into a dominant pitcher and has become one of the strongest members of a very deep Twins farm system that has a lot of talent at the top as well. And he started in high A, which at age 24 isn't necessarily the best place to be when you're that old, but has dominated there, dominated AA, dominated AAA in 4 starts, and now the Twins decided that he was ready. And in his first major league outing, he went 5 innings with 5 hits, 5 strikeouts without giving up a walk and allowing 2 earned runs. Nothing horrible, nothing great, but a solid performance for someone who could be a very solid 2, 3, 4 starter for the Twins going forward. For someone who's picked in the 8th round of the 2022 MLB draft, I think that is a solid investment, and the Twins have done a great job of getting some of their lower draft picks to be impact major leaguers, and Zebby Matthews seems to be the next in line for that. From 71 to 80, we have a lot of players who aren't necessarily looking to make their major league debut soon, but there are a couple exceptions, one of those being Max Meyer, who's at the center of controversy to begin the 2024 season, as he began the year with the Miami Marlins major league team, did a phenomenal job in their starting rotation, but suddenly got demoted in what looks to be service time manipulation. You can watch my video down there in the description about service time manipulation if you're interested to hear more about that whole saga. He is a phenomenal pitcher and has been on a lot of top prospect lists for a very long time after being the 3rd overall pick in the 2020 MLB draft. He was a starter for 3 years at Minnesota, which is not easy to start 3 years in college, and was someone that a lot of people were really excited about. And although he did have Tommy John surgery that made him miss all of 2023, his return in 2024 was triumphant and was definitely a very exciting thing for Marlins fans to see. With one of the best sliders in Major League Baseball, along with a plus fastball and changeup and solid control, it's left to be seen whether Meyer can go ahead and be a long-term number 1 or maybe number 2 starter for a team. He definitely has the ability to, it's just a matter of going ahead, breaking through, and being a solid player at the Major League level. He has struggled once he returned back to the rotation so far with the Miami Marlins, showing that maybe it was just a little bit of good luck going his way, but long-term he seems to be someone that the Marlins are counting on, and at 25 he should be a mainstay in their Major League rotation for years to come. Alex Freeland has been another breakout star from the 2022 draft class that currently sits at number 79 overall on this ranking, and he started the year again in high A just like Zebby Matthews and has made his way all the way up to AAA, and although he hasn't made his Major League debut, the Dodgers looking like they might need a shortstop. I wouldn't be shocked to see him potentially make his Major League debut at some point in 2024. A big chunk of Freeland's appeal is the fact he was likely to stick at shortstop, and that's what the Dodgers were banking on when they drafted him in the 3rd round of that 2022 MLB draft, and that's definitely the case, but his offense has really come around. He already was known for having a solid eye, but he needed to tap into some contact skills, which he absolutely has, and has really put together a wonderful performance so far in 2024, going from high A all the way up to AAA, and right now, although his 811 OPS is below the league average at the Pacific Coast League, which is where the Dodgers AAA affiliate is, 811 is not that far from about the 850 that it averages, and only playing 7 games there shows that he's put together a solid performance, especially at only 22 years old. The switch hitter is a little bit better from the left side, but the Dodgers could use an injection at shortstop in their lineup, and it wouldn't shock me to see Freeland be a potential September addition to their roster and make an impact should they go ahead and make the postseason. Although 61 to 70 has a lot more players who are expected to make their major league debut sooner compared to 71 to 80, I think a lot of the players here have more intrigue that are farther away. The first being Jason Chourio, who is the brother of Jackson Chourio, who is one of the best rookies in Major League Baseball and a former top prospect himself. Now, though he isn't going to be a huge breakout star like his brother Jackson, Jason is definitely someone who is a very exciting prospect, and in a Guardian system which is known for good development, he could definitely be an impact player going forward. He has the potential to be a very good player going forward. He has both the hit tool and 820 OPS, a really good eye, only 63 strikeouts in 90 games at high A at 19, incredibly impressive. Then that's coupled with 43 stolen bases as well, with above average defense in center field. What more could you ask for? He doesn't have a dynamic trait like Aaron Judge's power or someone like Steven Kwan's contact skills, but he's definitely a player who you could go ahead and slot into your 2-hole in your lineup and be happy with him going every day. Not hitting for a ton of power, but potentially being a very good on-base threat, stealing some bases, and setting up the bigger hitters on your table while providing you above average defense in center field. If you want to talk about a true star in the making, Jacob Misiorowski is probably that. He has one of the best fastballs and sliders in all of minor league baseball, and you add that onto a plus curveball with a changeup that he can mix in at times as well. It's a wonder why he's not the best pitching prospect in baseball. You look at what he's done throughout his entire career and you are just flabbergasted. In his first full season in 2022, he only pitched an inning and a third, but struck out 3 batters. In 2023, across 3 levels, he struck out 110 and 71 in a third inning pitched. And so far, between AA and AAA in 2024, he struck out 110 and just 84 in a third innings pitched. He has absolutely dominant stuff. So what gives? Why is he ranked 66? Well, it's simple. He cannot throw strikes to save his life. He is a walk machine, and that's a big issue with his profile. 53 walks in those 84 and a third innings pitched so far in 2024, and that gives him a ton of reliever risk. He's someone who could absolutely be a front-of-the-line starter, but his control makes it really, really risky for him to go ahead and give valuable innings as a starting pitcher. He did have the largest bonus as a 2022 signing class from the Brewers at $2.35 million, but it's really scary because he just doesn't have the control to stick as a frontline starter. If he did, he would without a doubt be the best pitching prospect in baseball. We're talking Paul Skeens level of dominance, but that lack of the control really knocks him. And if he can go ahead and get it under control, pun intended, he will be someone to watch out for. If not, you might be looking at the next person in line of great closers in Milwaukee history behind Josh Hader and Devin Williams. From 51 to 60, I think is a very good ranking of people who I call fun. These are people who have at either some point been at the top echelon of the game, a top 10, top 15 prospect, or a lot of people think could very easily get there. And we're not just talking about the recent high school draftee Connor Griffin, we're talking about players who could really make a dominant impact at the major league level. The first player I'll talk about is Kyle Manzardo, who's part of the Aaron Savali trade at the 2023 trade deadline, and was a really shock deal as the Rays had traded away a top 100 prospect for someone who they've already traded away to the Milwaukee Brewers. It's important to note that Manzardo is defensively limited to first base, which made him expendable to the Rays, as not only do they value positional versatility, they actually have a higher ranked first base only prospect on this list, who we'll talk about in a couple minutes. A lot of people were shocked when he did get traded because a lot of people thought he'd be the first baseman that the Rays would use in the playoffs in 2023, then the first baseman the Guardians would use. It seemed like that was their biggest weakness, and a lot of people thought he could potentially open the season on the Major League roster. None of that happened, but he did make his Major League debut with the Guardians so far in 2024. 30 games, a 570 OPS isn't great, but he has absolutely dominated AAA so far at 949 OPS. He is just waiting to get the call. And though he did struggle a little bit in 2023, there's documented reasons why. Factors outside of the game kind of got into things. So now that he's back to normal, it looks like he is someone who the Guardians are going to love having at first base for the long term. Slotting in at number 56 has been one of the surprise stories of the 2023 MLB draft in catcher Blake Mitchell. He was drafted 8th overall by the Kansas City Royals, so definitely a lot of pedigree behind him, but he was drafted a bit high for what a lot of people expected him to go, especially with Kyle Teel still on the board, but he's shown to be a very nice addition by the Royals staff and a huge scouting win. He was known for his amazing defense. He has a cannon behind the dish, an above average framer, known for having a good repertoire with pitchers, and coming out of high school, that's some very valuable skills to have. He just turned 20 less than 2 weeks ago, and the lefty had a lot of concerns about his ability on offense, but that has been completely squashed as he's gone ahead and torn up the minor leagues so far in 2024 with Single A Columbia, again at only age 20, He has a 255, 389, 465 slash line, leading to an OPS above 850, 16 home runs, 23 stolen bases. You name it, Blake Mitchell has done it so far in 2024. He wouldn't be a name that I would see be any lower on this list in 2025. He could very easily be the best catching prospect in the game if he continues on this hot streak, maybe has a nice start in spring training. This could be a top 10 prospect in baseball in just a couple months. Just watch out for Blake Mitchell. 41 to 50 is characterized by almost exclusively lefties. We got 7 of them, 2 switch hitters as well, one of them being a pitcher, so a righty pitcher. And the other switch hitter being 17-year-old Leo DeVries, who was the star of the 2024 international signing class at the Padres, now in 2023 and 2024, signed the number 1 prospect in the international signing class, 2023 being Ethan Salas, who's higher up on this list. And now Leo DeVries, who at 17 is already making a name for himself at Single A Lake Elsinore with a 238, 362, 437 slash line for a 799 OPS plus. He's only 17 and he's playing off against college age players right now. It's just incredibly impressive. And although his strikeout rate is a bit high, 82 strikeouts in 71 games, he has put up some decent numbers elsewhere. 11 home runs, 13 stolen bases, definitely solid numbers around the board for someone who is so young for the class. He's born in 2006, just think about that. Not only that, he has the ability to stick at shortstop long term too, and I don't foresee Xander Bogaerts blocking him forever, especially because as you get older, you tend to move to less defensively challenging positions, and in a couple years, Bogaerts should be there, especially when DeVries debuts, in my opinion, in 2028. A lot of time for that to happen. So right now, it looks like the Padres have gotten the steal of the international signing class 2 years in a row, signing the top-ranked player, spending a ton of money, and it's starting to pay off for them with a huge boost of young talent into their minor league system for AJ Preller. The other really interesting name on this list is Chase DeLauter. He's someone who a lot of people have as a top 10 prospect, but injury concerns have really hampered his ability to go ahead and break out into that role. The James Madison product is currently at AA Akron and has put together some okay numbers so far in 2024. A 232, 307, 354 slash line at AA isn't anything to write home about for the 22-year-old. He's going to be 23 at the end of the year, so he'll be 22 through the rest of the season. The jump from high A, which he tore up last year, to AA is definitely a challenge, and with an injury that has kept him out for a decent chunk of the season, he's only played in 27 games so far in 2024. It's just a matter of time for him to get back on track, get healthy, and potentially produce at a high level for the Cleveland Guardians prospect. When he has been good, he has been absolutely terrific. An above-average hit tool, above-average power, above-average run speed, above-average defense. This is exactly what Jason Chourio is, but if you made it a little bit better and a lefty. There is a lot of potential for him to be a very, very good player going forward if he can keep the injuries under control. And that's the big question mark. Will he stay healthy? A lot of people think he will, but with a lot of injuries right now to his foot, it's just a matter of time for him to go ahead, be healthy, and be an impact player at the major league level. 31 to 40 has a lot of older players, granted old by prospect standards, not by baseball or real life standards, but a lot of really interesting players nonetheless. The oldest of so is Brandon Sproat, ranked 40th overall, and he joins a list of former players who played for the Florida Gators and their blue and orange to potentially have an impact on the Mets blue and orange, following the likes of Harrison Bader recently, Pete Alonso, and new former top 100 prospect Christian Scott. Sproat absolutely dominated the minor leagues in 2024 as he didn't pitch in 2023 after helping the Gators almost win the College World Series last year after falling to the LSU Tigers in 3 games, but has come on in 2024 and absolutely dominated. He carved up AAA in 6 starts, he carved up AA in 11, and though he has struggled in his first 2 starts at AAA, he did have a productive outing just a couple days ago as per the release of this video, but he did get pulled out for an injury that doesn't seem to be too major, but is definitely something to keep an eye out for. Sproat is someone with a really nice 5-pitch mix, almost guaranteed to be a starter with good control, and someone the Mets love. Love him so much, in fact, that the Mets selected him in the 3rd round of the 2022 MLB draft, but thinking that he could not only raise his draft stock, but potentially help the Gators win a College World Series in 2023, returned to the University of Florida, and the Mets selected him in the 2nd round of the 2023 MLB draft because they wanted him in their organization. And right now, it's paying off as he joins another long list of former Florida Gators who are making an impact in the Mets organization. The Mariners have had a ton of success developing young talent recently, and Cole Young, an infielder who they drafted in the 1st round of the 2022 MLB draft, is no exception. He joins a long list of really interesting Mariners prospects on the offensive side of the ball, which is good because their offense is somewhat anemic and their pitching staff is phenomenal. And the 21-year-old is someone who a lot of people are really excited about within Seattle. And despite being ranked as a top 40 prospect in the game, 37 overall, might be one of the most unheralded prospects in all of baseball, which is kind of shocking to think about. Much of that can be attributed to the likes of Cole Emerson or Harry Ford and other really good prospects in the Mariners systems who seem to get a lot of the limelight. But at only 21 years old, Cole Young is definitely an impact player, and a lot of people should learn his name sooner rather than later. Teams are often hesitant to take players out of the Mid-Atlantic or Northeast out of high school simply because it snows a lot, it's bad weather during baseball season, and you often don't get a ton of reps in because of that, and a lot of opportunity to see them in live games. Coming out of the Pittsburgh area, that was one issue with Cole Young that helped him fall a little bit down to the Mariners slot at 22nd overall, but that has not stopped him from using a very nice advanced feel of the bat to go ahead and carve up the minor leagues just like Brandon Sproat has. A breakout 2024 with AA, a 758 OPS isn't great, but for someone who started the year in single A, completely obliterated them in 2023, really did the same thing again in high A at the end of 2023. This jump, which again is high A to AA, one of the most difficult in the minor leagues, is definitely nothing to scoff at, and it shows that Young will definitely have the potential to be a very good player going forward. He's not going to have a ton of power. He could maybe hit 15 in a season at his peak, but he's mostly known for a good hit tool, potentially above average defense at shortstop, and the ability to steal some bases if he needs to. More than anything, he'll be able to get on base a ton because he hits for a lot of contact, and that's incredibly valuable in a place like T-Mobile Park where the Mariners play that has shown some really bad offensive numbers the past couple seasons. 21 to 30 is characterized by a lot of people who could make a big jump in the coming weeks up into higher rankings after a couple good performances, and the one that's really interesting to me is Chase DeLander, a right-handed pitcher who came out of the University of Tennessee just like Drew Gilbert, who we talked about earlier. But what's interesting to me about him is he pitches in the Colorado Rockies organization, and if you know anything about Coors Field, that is not a fun place for pitchers to play. He was a great player at the University of Tennessee, which is why he went as a very high pick, 9th overall in the 2023 MLB draft, and the Rockies, knowing that no pitcher really wants to sign to play in Coors Field, have to draft or trade for a lot of their pitchers that they end up in their system, and DeLander has absolutely dominated so far in 2024. He began the year pitching for High A Spokane, where I got to see him play on the road this year, which was a wonderful experience. He was phenomenal in that time before making the jump just about a month ago to AA, where he's pitched in 4 games, a 1.86 ERA across those 4 starts, striking out 19 in 19 1/3 innings pitched, walking 7, which isn't great, but he has shown to be a very good pitcher in limiting his walk rate so far in 2024. In High A, he had 111 strikeouts, just 28 walks in that 70 innings pitched. Part of the reason why the jump to AA is so difficult is hitters do a lot better job of not swinging at pitches outside the zone, and I think that's what DeLander's facing right now. He gets a lot of swing and misses from a lot of his really great pitches, like his plus fastball, plus slider, plus changeup, a very solid curveball, that end up outside of the zone, and as hitters are starting to learn that, hey, I don't have to swing at this pitch, DeLander's starting to struggle a little bit in terms of keeping his walk rate low, but so far it's paid off with some good peripherals, good stats as well, just ahead of what he's done so far. 130 strikeouts and 89 1/3 innings pitched so far this year. Definitely some very good numbers and someone who could be a very interesting player going forward. And who knows, the Rockies don't have a ton of really great pitching successes. Maybe Chase DeLander is the best pitcher in Colorado Rockies history if we come and revisit this video in about 10 years. I promised you we'd talk about the other Rays prospect who's a first baseman who's ranked higher than Kyle Manzardo, and that's Xavier Isaac, a 20-year-old who's currently playing in AA, just promoted a couple days ago and has absolutely crushed it there. I know I've used a lot of hyperbole for really great things so far this video, but Isaac is definitely in a league of his own. At Bowling Green, their High A affiliate, across 71 games, a 916 OPS. He's done a great job, 15 home runs, 14 stolen bases as a first baseman. He's really unlocked a lot of unforeseen speed. No one thought he had any speed coming out of the draft, where the Rays took him 29th overall in the 2022 MLB draft, but he has really just blown up and been a great prospect. No one expected him to be a first-round pick either. The Rays surprised a ton of the industry. A lot of people thought Isaac would go maybe 2nd, 3rd round, maybe forgo the draft altogether and go to the University of Florida, where he was committed, but the Rays liked what they saw, and it has paid off dramatically. They knew exactly what they were getting out of Isaac, and he has really blossomed into a great player, an above-average hit tool, game-breaking power, okay defense at first base, but it's first base, you don't need great defense. He's someone who will be a mainstay in the Rays lineup for a long time to come, And that's what really is exciting about Xavier Isaac. He's someone who could be a top 10 prospect in the game if you really wanted to put him there, and no one would really bat an eye in the industry, I would think. As we go from 11 to 20, a lot of really fun, interesting names, a lot of recent draftees. We got 4 of them. Let's talk about some of the people who have been in the minor leagues a little bit, though. And I think the easiest person to look at in this list is Jason Dominguez, who has been on these lists for over 5 years now. He signed back when the international signing period was still back in July instead of in January that is now, and it's been a mainstay of Yankees prospect rankings for years. This guy has been a top prospect for now 5 years. It's been over 5 years since he signed, which is crazy to think about, and he's only 21 years old. That's the hard part. There's definitely some prospect fatigue with him because he has been a guy that has been talked about for 5 years. People are like, when's he going to break out? He's only 21 years old. He'll be 22 for the entirety of the 2025 season, so he's still incredibly young. He already has the ability to potentially hit for average at the major league level. He played a little bit last season, a 250, a 303, 677 /9 for a 980 OPS in 8 games. Very small sample size, but still. And an injury at the minor league level so far in 2024 has limited his ability. He hasn't put up great numbers so far in AAA so far this year, but I think a lot of Yankees fans want to see him called up, and more than that, I think they could really use someone like him in their lineup. You have Juan Soto, you have Aaron Judge, and Alex Verdugo batting leadoff. Yankees fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Get him up in the major leagues, get him going. He's, yes, small at 5'9", 190, but he is a 5-tool player. The reason he's called the Martian and still is because he is a generational player. He could be someone who can make the Yankees very happy right now as they go ahead and push for the best record in Major League Baseball. Now that we've talked about one side of one of the best rivalries in sports, let's go ahead and talk about the other side and Roman Anthony, the 14th ranked prospect and the best Red Sox prospect in baseball, and someone who might actually be underrated at 14, which is crazy to think about. He's only 20 years old, and the lefty is already up to AAA. He's played 2 games there so far at 875 OPS, which obviously is very, very small sample size, so take that with a grain of salt. But he's put up some really good numbers at AA so far at 856 OPS in 84 games. So there's definitely a lot of potential for him to be a very good player. Is he going to be the best center fielder in the world? No, but he could play it serviceably, and I think if you move him to a corner, he will absolutely not only provide you the offensive value you need from a lesser defensive position, but he can be a plus defender there as well, which is incredibly valuable. As another 2022 draftee, picked 79th overall in the second round compensatory picks by Boston, Roman Anthony is definitely one of the best prospects in baseball. He's hit for a ton of power, he's hit for a ton of average, he's even swiped a couple bases, he's played some very good defense as well. So again, so far 16 stolen bases, above average defensive metrics so far in 2024. What more can you ask? He has played some really good center, and again, although some evaluators think he will move off to a corner, I am one of them. If you need him to play center, he absolutely can, and that's a big plus to his game. The top 10 prospects list is littered with players who you probably already know, and a lot of players that I've already talked about, so I'm trying to minimize the amount of overlap I give and also give you insight into some of the less common players. I don't want to give repeat information, so if you are interested in a couple of these players, I'll tell you the videos that I've talked about them in and give you those links in the description below. Jackson Holliday has been hyped up by the media. I'm sure you know him as the #1 prospect in baseball for over a year straight now. I've talked about him in my MLB Pipeline Top 100 preview before the 2024 season, and in my Orioles infield situation. Junior Caminero was ranked 2nd on this list. I talked about him in the history of the Rays and why they keep winning deals video. Dylan Cruz I've also talked about in that Top 100 list back in the beginning of the year. Same with number 6 Carson Williams. And Coby Mayo was also in my review of the Orioles infield situation video, but he has a great story that I didn't highlight there that I want to talk about. He was a player at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018 when that tragic shooting happened, killing over 15 individual students there at that school. And as someone who lived in South Florida at the time and was only 20 minutes away from the high school, it was an incredibly traumatic experience for the community. I can only imagine what Coby Mayo has gone through and the adversity he's had to overcome to get to be a top 10 prospect of the game. And as someone who just made his major league debut a couple days ago, if you're looking for someone to root for, Coby Mayo is absolutely that person. But beyond that, there's some names I haven't talked about, and let's go ahead and dive into some of these players. The best pitching prospect in baseball by far is Jackson Jobe. Is he Paul Skeens? No. But is he damn close? Absolutely. The 3rd overall pick in the 2021 MLB draft has been absolutely dominant for the AA Erie Seawolves so far in 2024. He has a really great mix, one of the best sliders in the game, a plus changeup, a plus fastball, an above average cutter, and above average control. It was a huge signing bonus, $6.9 million in 2021, a huge financial allocation to go ahead and sign a player out of high school, but it has paid off tremendously. After making 3 starts at high A, he made the jump up to that AA Erie squad and has absolutely crushed it, a 3-1 record, a 2.01 ERA, 58 strikeouts to 28 walks, and 53 2/3 innings pitched. Although that strikeout rate isn't super high, he's only 22 in AA, a very difficult jump, but he's had the peripherals and all the other stats to show that this is for real. He has elite stuff. He is a dominant pitcher and is someone that the Tigers are going to be counting on for high leverage innings out of the starting rotation in big games in the postseason should they make it in the next couple years. He will be a dominant force on the mound and without a doubt the best pitching prospect in baseball. We've already talked a bit about Jacob Misiorowski. Imagine taking his repertoire and adding elite control. That's Jackson Jobe and why he's one of the best pitchers in minor league baseball and a top 10 prospect and far and away the best pitcher in the minor leagues. One of the biggest surprises of the first round of the 2023 MLB draft was that the Tigers took Max Clark, who's the current 7th ranked prospect in MLB Pipeline's list, 3rd overall over Wyatt Langford. And it's obvious that Langford, despite having a little bit of struggle so far this year at the major league level, has the makings to be an absolute superstar. There's a reason why he was a top 5 prospect heading into the year. And if you were to put him on this list now, he'd probably be a top 5 prospect still now. But Max Clark has not disappointed at all. At only 19 years old, he's already playing at high A, which is incredibly impressive for him. And he has a very nice 319, 380, 472 slash line, and 850 OPS less than 17 games. Again, relatively small sample size. But after carving up single A with an 807 OPS, he's done a great job of just capitalizing on that and producing at a high level. He had 48 walks in 73 games at single A. At high A right now, he has 4 across 7, so he's doing a little bit worse in terms of walking, but he's hitting a lot more for average, and that's really producing good results for him. And right now, with 7 home runs in the season, it seems like he's not going to be a big power threat, but with 27 stolen bases, above average defense, the ability to stick in center field long term, Max Clark is definitely a name to watch out for going forward. The highest ranked player I haven't talked about before is Walker Jenkins, the 4th overall prospect who was selected 5th overall by the Minnesota Twins in the 2023 MLB draft. I just want you to think about this for a second. If you take Max Clark, 7th overall, and you put Paul Skeens and Wyatt Langford back into these rankings, they will be ranked most likely in the top 5. And Max Clark at 7th overall would be the 5th best prospect in the 2023 MLB draft. That is just crazy. That draft class was absolutely loaded at the top, and although Walker Jenkins hasn't had the best year so far in 2024, he is still very young. He's in high A already after putting up a OPS over 1,000 in rookie ball, an OPS over 800 in single A. Now in high A with Cedar Rapids, struggling a little bit, which is to be expected for someone who's only 19 at that level. A 551 OPS is definitely not great. He hasn't tapped into a ton of power or a ton of speed. So far, only 8 stolen bases on the year, only 3 home runs, but he does have a lot of in-game speed. He has 3 triples, he has 12 doubles. He's someone who could very easily stretch a single into a double. He can go ahead and go first to third. That's kind of how his speed adapts into the game. And not only that, he is an above average defender in center field, and that's what really drives home Walker Jenkins as a top prospect in the game. He has all this potential, and he's still very young for the class, so don't look at these numbers, a 551 OPS, oh no, he's really struggling. He is playing against players who just graduated college. He'd be a college freshman right now. He's playing against players who have been in the minor leagues for 5-6 years. He's been in there for 1. Nothing to worry about. He is a very good player, and he also has only struck out 28 times in 54 games and walked 39 times. His plate discipline is off the charts good. There's nothing to worry about in terms of his stats. He's young for the class. Let him struggle a little bit and he will come back and be stronger. And that's why people love Walker Jenkins as a prospect. And that's it. That is my reaction to MLB Pipeline's top 100 rankings. Hopefully got a lot of useful information about a lot of these prospects. There's a lot of names I went through. I've talked my mind off. My mouth is dry. So hopefully your brain is full of some really fun, interesting information about baseball's next wave of really great talent. And hopefully you've either gotten some guys to root for who aren't in your team system, got to learn a little bit more about some of your team's top prospects, or start to dread the reason why your rival team might end up being a lot better than you expected heading into the next couple years. Thank you again, and again, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you like this. This was a lot of work to produce. and it really means a lot, and it's the best way to support me and other baseball content creators out there, as well as you'll get my videos and theirs as well. There'll be 2 videos on the screen as well. If you're interested in either of those, go ahead and watch them, and I hope to see